Give me a D and a G. It's the Dawg and Gus Show. It's the Dawg and Gus Show.
Welcome to the Dawg and Gus Show.
Now on Be Kind Radio.
Yes, sir.
Yes. How exciting is that?
Very.
We got going on today, Doc.
We're going to talk to Woods of Light, sorry, my bad.
Brian Gunther.
Yes.
Yeah. What's up, Brian? How are you?
I'm good. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you.
Yeah, it's
good to be back. We took like a whole month off, so we're like, we might be rusty. Yeah. As you can see, Dog was already kind of rusty there. I'm just kidding, bro.
I am the consummate professional.
So, what got you into music, Brian? What was your the beginning?
I guess, ever since I was a little kid, much like other people, I've always been a pretty avid consumer of music. But, as you can see, I'm sitting in my studio right now. So this is my primary thing. I love to record. That's one thing that I've always loved to do. Like I have boxes of tapes from when I was a kid. Just something about recording always drew me to it, recording mock radio interviews, skits, improv things. I just always loved to do that kind of thing. And it wasn't until, say, approaching my mid-20s that I started actually recording my music properly using good gear. I'm a late starter on instruments. I first taught myself how to play the guitar when I was 15. A lot of my friends and I, as you could probably see from the shirt, we're really, really big into metal. And a couple of my friends at the time had already started playing guitar. And I got really interested in it. So I scrounged up some pocket money. I got a cheap electric guitar, sat in my basement, trying to teach myself songs via tablature. I was saying this morning to the Dawg crew, but I remember the first song I tried to teach myself was Master of Puppets. And I really remember that like it was yesterday, trying to learn that beginning riff, possibly the solos at some point. But yeah, that's kind of how it started. The guitar at 15. And then pretty quickly after that, I got myself an acoustic guitar and then a piano. And then it just took off from there. Over the years, I've accumulated dozens of different instruments from around the world, and my closet's full of those. So it's like a train that just keeps going. You can't get off,
Yeah, it makes sense. It seems like Master of Puppets would be a pretty challenging starter.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's part of the reason why I think it's a pretty interesting thing. It's a tall order for a new guitarist, to learn a song like that.
Don't they usually say learn like Smoke on the Water? Apparently the chord progression is easier.
Yeah, I heard that one many times. Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah.
If I ever decide to learn that, it'll be the song I don't try.
Nothing Else Matters by Metallica would be probably a song that you could go to too. That would be easier.
I would probably start.
Master of Puppets is very intricate.
I would, I would start with something from Rush, because Alex Lifeson is not a very good guitarist, so I figured that'd be okay.
He's pretty good.
Sorry, Alex.
Yeah, he's pretty good. That's awesome. Thank you.
When you say boxes of tapes, are these tapes that were store-bought tapes or tapes that you made?
Yeah, they were like cassette tapes that I recorded onto, like the blank ones. I think they were they like 80 minutes long? You'd get them at the general store.
Well, you could get the 80 minutes. There was 90 and 120. The 120s were bad.
What was he, Max? Something Max? Is that what they were?
Yeah, that's actually...
Well, that was one of the companies.
Yeah, that's ringing a bell now. This is like... I think the most recording I did was in 1998 or something like that. I think I was like 10 years old. For some reason, it really exploded during that summer. We did a lot of those, but those are those old school tapes.
Yeah, I remember using the 120s, and they just didn't, because I don't know, there's something about the recording on it. It wasn't as good sounding. Probably too much, yeah.
The tape was too thin.
Yeah, anyway. I'm glad we talked about that.
Mm-hmm. Who would you say inspired you to get into music?
It's hard to say. I'm not sure if there's one specific person. I have a musical side of my family that I know. My uncles were musicians. My grandfather played like spoons, whenever we'd go camping, want to be on the harmonica. I had an uncle whose friend would bring a guitar. So I was always kind of around music. I had a few friends when I was a kid that were learning guitar. But I think it just ended up that way. 90s turning into the 2000s. My friends and I were really into punk rock. That really got me into like electric guitar based music where I actually started paying attention, like palm muting and really fast drums and fast sections. And that coincided with skateboarding, at the time being really into skating. And then that sort of gravitated into the metal world. So I think it was really around that time that I was really interested in learning the electric guitar because I wanted to sound like, I was listening to bands like, most of the old school stuff, Metallica, Megadeth, Slayer, Pantera. That quickly turned into more progressive stuff like Dream Theater. And then that opened up a whole other world, Opeth, Porcupine Tree, Catatonia, Anathema, all those bands. I think that's really when it started getting Like I started going from just riff-based electric guitar distortion to like acoustic passages. It was really around that time that I think it really opened up. And then I started looking outside of the metal world because my friends and I, we were pretty, narrow-minded. It's metal or it's just not worth listening to. And I remember discovering like Grateful Dead, Nick Drake, Ron Sexsmith, Elliott Smith, Leonard Cohen, Johnny Cash. So that was a pretty important year for me. I think when I was like 16 years old, that was probably my biggest influence, like the biggest catalyst to get me to actually start writing songs, which I mean, I'm still doing to this day.
Yeah, you found your what you loved, and then you went after it. That's good.
Yeah, I think it just
that.
clicked. Yeah.
Well, they say you start like, your musical journey usually starts with your parents' music, and then you gravitate to your friends and what they're listening to, and then you just kind of like you just did. You take a deep dive here, you go here, and all of a sudden you've got a record collection.
It's true.
Because we're the same. We both, well, he likes metal a little bit more than I do, but we both do listen.
Yeah. I mean, I was more metal came after, like 90s hip hop was really kind of where I started my own journey in that way. And then all of a sudden I was into everything, and grunge was around. And then I just went back to, I loved Metallica from the beginning, and then like you said, all the others came. Death Theater was actually one of my favorites. So yeah, those are things. And then Rammstein came around. Some of that German stuff.
Yeah,
it's casual listening, really.
Yeah, we pretended we knew what they were saying by just doing this.
No, you don't need to know what they're saying.
Yeah, well,
just listen to that guy who was playing the piano on the
treadmill.
What's your creative process like if you're starting to write a song? Does it come with a melody first and then you write some words, or is it kind of both?
I think it's shifted a bit over time, but nowadays it mostly starts with myself, finding some time when I can, sitting around with the guitar. If I like something that I'm playing, it kind of sticks out. It's usually a finger picking pattern. I do a lot of finger picking music and open tunings, or like a chord progression or a melody. It really depends. And if I like it, usually what I'll have time for is to just pull out my phone and just record it really quickly on this recording app I have that has literally thousands of audio files on it. And I'll tuck it away. And if I do have the time, that's when I'll go down here into the studio and I'll fire up a Logic file, and I'll set the BPM, and I'll just start recording what I wrote, copy paste it, come up with a vocal melody. And that's really how I build the songs from the ground up. So it really does. I mean, it's just myself sitting with the guitar. And if something just kind of speaks to me, then I might save it. Sometimes songs will live on my phone for years, and I'll make a note of like what the notes were, what the capo position was, what the tuning was, and if I had an idea of where it could fit. Because I have something like, 6 different albums going simultaneously in my mind for this project, Woods of Light. So I'll sort of like start putting things into different folders. But that's really how it starts, It's just sitting around, fiddling around on the guitar or the piano.
Cool. Do you ever go through your stuff and go, yeah, that's not going to happen, and it's going to toss it, or do you keep everything figuring that there'll be a time for it?
I'd say the vast majority of what I've saved is never going to see the light of day. I have hard drives that are literally filled with hundreds of songs I've written over the past 20 years. It's just a time constraint thing. I think it's just unrealistic to think that I'll be recording all of those songs. So, I mean, one thing though is ever since I started recording more officially, I guess we could say, releasing to the public a couple years back, like I'm pretty laser focused on albums now. Like I'm a really big concept album guy. I grew up listening to a lot of progressive rock, Campbell, King Crimson, and Pink Floyd, and all those bands. And those bands always had like a really nice concept for their albums. So if I come up with something and I'll start singing over it, like a couple of mock lyrics, a theme pops up. That's really how. But yeah, mostly everything that I will start to write will never get produced, simply because I write a lot. I write every day. There's always something that comes out. It's almost like my friends always ask me this. It's almost like a curse and a blessing. You discover a new tuning, you write a whole album immediately in that tuning because it just kind of comes out. So yeah, there's a lot more that comes out than what would officially get completed in the end.
Yeah, that makes sense. Actually, it's like you kind of put everything away, and then you never know.
Well, no, you don't. Like you said, you can revisit it and say, well, okay, maybe, and then absolutely no, that goes back in the. You could be like Prince and have your big deep vault to get back into with all the stuff that you've written and not recorded.
That's right. When you die, we'll figure it all. We'll get it all.
I wouldn't want to be the one who sifts through all that stuff for sure.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. What song do you sing in the shower if you're singing?
I don't sing in the shower.
Fair.
Yeah, that's actually one thing that I've never done. I do in the car though. And I mean, I don't drive much anymore because now I work from home. But when I used to work in the city, actually, I released my first album in 2024 in Newcastle Park. And that's how I wrote a lot of the lyrics for that album, was in like, being in traffic into Ottawa every day, sitting in the car for an hour and a half and having no vocal, choruses and verses that I needed to fill in. So I do that a lot in the car. I do a lot of vocal practice in the car and actually write a lot of lyrics on the road. Well, not anymore, but back in the day, that's what I used to do.
Were they all angry because you're stuck in traffic?
Surprisingly, no.
Oh, that's good.
It's funny, eh? Like that maybe it helped them calm your mind too, like because you are dealing with something that would be stressful, but you're focusing on what you're passionate about, so it could change your mindset, right?
Yeah, I grew up north of Montreal in a smaller town, like a suburb of Montreal called Boisbriand, and I commuted to Montreal for school for many, many years until I moved down there because I couldn't take the traffic anymore. But we're talking like 15, 20 hours of commuting a week. This was back when my car had a CD player, so I had this gigantic stack of CDs on the passenger seat. I can go through 2-3 CDs per ride. So, I mean, I listened to a lot of CDs over the years. So, you're focused on the music. You try to accept there's not much you could do.
Yeah.
Yep. As long as you had that, that's it's the way to go.
I was just in Montreal on Saturday, actually.
Where are you now?
Yeah, we drove there. It was really fun for me. Yeah, my wife's from Verdun, so there's like a there's that area, and then they hate people from Laval and stuff. Like there's so many like little Montreal like
Clicks,
yeah, like neighborhood, like they're from Laval, so whatever, And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. Anyways, is there like a famous musician that you're admiring these days, like somebody that you're looking at, like, wow, they're awesome?
Yeah, I think if I had to pick, I often ask myself that question, but if I had to pick a musician that's had the biggest influence on me, I would probably have to pick Steven Wilson. Steven Wilson is known for fronting Porcupine Tree. Now he has his own solo career. He's actually coming to Laval. He was in Laval the last time. Now he's coming to Montreal for his tour soon. Yeah, so I've followed his career ever since I first heard his music, probably 2003, 2004 or so. And it's not so much just his music, but he's very prolific. He writes a lot of music across many different projects. He's a producer. He also records in his own home studio. Some of the best mixes I've ever heard have come from him. He's also remixing really well-known albums. He'll remix, so many different albums. I think he's working on an album by The Who now, or he's done a couple of The Who albums, like surround sound, Dolby Atmos surround. So he's always pushing the envelope, always really respected his philosophy about music as an art form and songwriting. So I think it'd probably have to be Steven Wilson. Like, I've kept up with his career for all this time, and he never ceases to impress and amaze me with what he puts out.
That's cool. Yeah.
Cool.
I actually like Steven Wilson too.
I like Brian Wilson.
Yeah, you would.
Tell us a little bit about the Woods of Light project you're doing right now, Brian.
Yeah, so that's really my solo project, which I guess I've been really involved in it for a long time now, like 20 years, maybe a little bit over 20 years. It's just myself. I just decided to give myself like a moniker or stage name. It's also a nod to my hometown in a way. Like, I grew up in a town called Boisbriand, and we used to jokingly call it like Flashwood, Bois, wood, brillant, brilliant. So it's kind of like a joke. So I took, Woods of Light. It came from that.
Cool.
So it's just like a small nod, to where I grew up. In fact, my first album, Newcastle Park, is dedicated to, my youth in the 90s there, people, places, memories I had. So it's really my solo project. And I've actually been working on it since I'm 37 now, and I started writing this music at 16. So 21 years. It's just recently that it saw the light of day as I congealed in my own lifestyle. I was in school for 13 years after high school, pursuing my PhD in clinical psychology. So I actually work as a clinical psychologist in the daytime. I run a private practice in the area. And it was pretty tumultuous. It's a long, arduous process. And then my wife and I started a family right around the end, and I had to study for my licensing exams, and then I had to build and launch the private practice. So when I found myself finally settled in my, approaching mid-30s, that's really when I decided to give it like a really good push to record something, finish something. I have a lot of unfinished albums on hard drives here. So I thought it was time. So that's really when I birthed this project, like more publicly, if you will, even though like I have been writing this kind of music for a very long time.
Interesting. And are you finished the album?
So Newcastle Park came out last year in 2024. It's a full-length album. And last month I released an EP that I worked on for pretty considerable amount of time. It took me a long time to mix and produce. And now I'm working on my next one. So yeah, it is out. Like I have it up on my Bandcamp. It's on YouTube. It's on a bunch of different streaming platforms as well.
Any hard copies yet?
No, I would love to do that, but I don't know. I mean, we just talked about CDs, being a little bit more defunct as a style. I mean, I love CDs. Like I still collect CDs.
So do I.
I don't know about pressing like a stack of CDs. I always had this idea years ago about getting like a nice digipack, like a nice cardboard digipack, almost like a mini LP. What I'd be very interested in is pressing like a small run of like vinyl.
Ooh,
that'd be great, but it's extremely expensive. And at the same time, I'm not sure I want to be left with the massive stack of them in the corner of my room here, and not really know what to do with them. But that is a goal. That is absolutely a goal for the future. Like I love records. I've been collecting records my whole life. So to have one of my albums, in that format, I think would be great.
That's the reason why we ask, is because that's exactly what people tell us. You got to have, you put up like a project like that has taken you so like long to get it done. You need to have some kind of tactile, like, the album or even a CD to say, you know what, I did this. This is mine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And maybe also your vintage, like our ages, come into play too, because we remember how exciting it was to go get the piece that we actually had to go buy it. Remember? Like, it's funny. There was a guy talking about Michael Jackson and how they were comparing Michael Jackson and Taylor Swift. And he's like, I don't think there's a really comparison, because 1 million people a week went somewhere and bought a physical copy of Thriller, and like, it's not like a streaming service, which is just, I'll just download it,
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's cool to have, like you said, it's like art. It's an art form, and you'll have it forever, and you can leave it for your kids and all that. So
Brian's a big fan of the progressive rock scene too, and the artwork on some of those albums was just like incredible, right? Like I'm thinking more like Emerson, Lake and Palmer, like Tarkus, that album cover, and a couple of the other, Brain Salad Surgery, another really cool, I can't remember the artist's name, but they used him a lot in their form, and he's been around. Geiger, I think his name is Geiger.
I know who you're talking about. I have Tarkus in short rotation upstairs. Actually,
see, yeah.
I'll ask you a question. You're very highly educated, and metal heads tend to be very educated, like scientists and psychologists and surgeons and many like, why is it that metal is something that someone who is very educated or maybe has the type of mind that is smarter than others, we'll say, in some ways. Obviously, there's other ways to be smart, but you know what I'm saying? Like, why is it such a high functioning person that likes metal?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, the reason I like metal is it's, a lot of people, I guess at face value, it just sounds like a bunch of noise and screaming, right? But the songs themselves, like the songwriting is excellent. It's very intricate. It's very interesting. Bands like I mentioned before, well, even this band, like Agalloch, it's a great band, Porcupine Tree, Opeth, those bands. They, the songwriting takes you for a ride. You don't know what to expect. It's very intricate. It's very technical. It goes from really brutal to really beautiful in the same phrase, like it's, I don't know, it might be something to do with that. It's actually quite interesting when you really delve into it and you think about it. And, it's funny. It's ironic because a lot of my friends and I, like, we're all like really deep into metal. We've been since we were kids, and metalheads are some of the nicest people I've ever met. So
totally. Yeah. I go to a lot of shows around the Ottawa area, and I've been, the very first one we went to when we first started the podcast, I went across to I'm not going to remember the name of the club, but that's terrible.
You're a good storyteller.
But I'm a great storyteller. Rocket Engine was playing, and I was looking at them on stage, and they're all dressed in leather together, right? And they're just like, I mean, oh my God, I'm afraid of these guys. And then I get to meet them, and they're the sweetest men. Like, oh my God, every time I see them, I'm getting bear hugs from the bassist and stuff. And these amazing people. And, but just
kind, very
it's
kind,
that stigma. Yeah. It's that stigma they get. It's like, well, they're this. It's like, no, man. Like, did you ever talk to one of them? Then
yeah, it's art.
It's interesting.
Like people look at certain art in a certain way, and they tend to follow the people that say what they're saying about that art, and they don't like get invested in it. They don't look at it. I was going to agree with you, because anything I like about metal is, like you said, it's like it starts out as this, like, even Master of Puppets, right? Like it sort of gets, and then there's that really great interlude that just like takes you on a journey on this, like, it's almost like you're riding a horse or something. I don't know. In my head, that's what I'm doing. But yeah, I think that's a very good point. Like, I think that it's intricate, and people that think differently or clinically or technically, or, they're going to be into that. So.
Yeah, I met Lemmy Kilmister when I was younger. And he came out of the venue, he parked himself on a chair, and he took the time to talk to you, shake your hand, and sign anything you had, and everybody out there, even though he was getting ready for a gig. So it's the kind of thing, he might look like the gruff, unapproachable guy, but he was a really nice guy. And that's always been my experience, over time with fans.
Yeah, it's cool. I love that.
You got a show coming up, City Sounds Live.
Yeah, so that's it's a daytime gig.
Yep.
It's in the Glebe. There's that one, and then in October, I haven't actually posted it yet, but it's the 18th, no, the 11th, of October. I'll live on Elgin. I can never pronounce it. Elgin, right?
Yep.
I was there last year around the same time performing, but this year I'm opening for a great duo called Champagne Weather.
Okay.
So a fiddle and cello duo, and yeah, it's really wonderful, really, really great. I'm really looking forward to that. And so yeah, that's in October. But yes, at the end of the month, I'll be playing a little bit in the Glebe.
Yeah, it's with because it just popped up on my screen here, so I just
it's with the Ontario,
with
Omic.
Omic, whatever. Yeah, they're doing some good things around the city. We like them a lot.
I was just going to ask you, have you ever listened to Raphael Wainwright Brown? He's a cellist in a pretty big European metal band. I don't know if you've heard of him. Yeah,
so Muskox?
Yes.
Yeah, so I know Nathaniel.
Cool.
Yeah, so I know Nathaniel. I mean, Raph through Nathaniel.
Yeah, it's cool. Like we've had him on the show, and he gave us an education when he was on the show. Like he's just such a musician, right? Like he's a classically trained cellist, but he's also in a heavy metal band. So I was always like, how do you put the two together? But then he explained it in a way that, he said heavy metal is very as close to classical music as any band, like any art form, like any musical form. So would you agree?
Yeah, no, that's actually a really good point. I mean, there's a lot of types of metal too, right? Like there's when I was younger, I used to listen to a lot of neoclassical stuff, which is pretty on the nose, in terms of what you're mentioning. But yeah, you're right. I do definitely agree. Yeah.
Interesting, eh?
Yeah, I mean, he can play just about everything.
He's okay.
Again, with the yeah. I remember the after party after the last awards that we had here in the city. I was at the after party, and the band that was playing was a funk band, and they're like talking to each other during the intermission, and Raph got up on stage with them with his cello and played a whole set with them. And it was just it was amazing.
He's got that skill set.
I love the cello. It's one of those instruments that I've always wanted to learn. On my last EP that I put out last month, there's pretty prominent cello throughout. I looked for a cello player, but in the end, I used a sample pack that I have that's quite convincing and actually really beautiful. But yeah, it was a big part of that album was the cello, and it's, I think, one of my favorite instruments, and it has always been. Actually, I have two sons, so they're 1.5 and 3.5, and I've always had the goal of putting one of them in cello lessons, just having them have a classical education. I was more self-taught, late learner, and I thought I could try to give them that, like an early classical education.
Yeah. Cool.
It's cool.
Yeah, it's fun. And if they take to it, it's even better, right?
Right.
It's just like, yeah, that's good. My son's going to be a cello player. I like it.
Yeah, right now my oldest is really into drums, and he has been for many years, and he's probably more into metal than I am. Like he's really, really, really taken to it. He's really into death metal, actually.
Yeah, at 3.5.
3.5. That's
nice.
Yeah.
See, my 3-year-olds are into Bluey.
Start them young.
Although I play them a lot of different stuff.
You do. They're going to be well read. His daughters will be well versed in music as a whole.
I like everything, so there's no holds barred there. Okay, so you just robbed a bank, and you're in the car, and you put your CD in the old car. Which song is playing as you're driving away?
I'm trying to think about one of the last CDs that I probably had in there before I got rid of it. It was probably The Fall of Hearts by Catatonia. Yeah, nice. I think that was around the time that I got rid of my car. And in terms of the song, I don't know. I'd say the first one, given that my drives are really long and I'd have to go through the CD all the time. So I can't remember exactly what the first track is on that album.
Well, you have to go fast too, so you got to remember that, right? You got to drive away from the bank.
Yeah.
Or you're not driving fast to not draw attention to yourself. Huh? There's two ways.
Good album for that, then.
Yes, there you go. There you go. All right, go ahead. I got to think.
Okay.
Yeah, I do that occasionally.
Fair. Just maybe before would be better.
Oh no, sorry, I got something. My bad. So I just been a long day. Do you sing in both French and English?
I don't. Like my mother tongue is actually French, but I've never written in French. It's sort of a goal of mine, to try. I've never actually tried it. But no, right now it's pretty much exclusively in English, yeah.
Would you say, like in Montreal, because I find the appetite for the metal music is bigger in Montreal, and why would you think that is as opposed to somewhere like Ottawa or Toronto?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, Montreal, maybe it's the roots or something like that, because I did notice that. Like when I moved into Montreal, there was a pretty big metal scene there. Accessibility, possibly. I'm not sure the amount of people there. And naturally, I think the more people live in a city, the more metalheads you'll get, right? Bands stop a lot more. The local scene is good. I mean, the local metal scene in Montreal was a really nice scene. Got some really well-known bands that came up from Montreal. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's the culture. Maybe it's the French-Canadian thing. I'm not sure.
Interesting. Yeah.
Well, because we're so blah here in Ottawa.
That's not true.
No, that's the stigma we get, right? It's this Ottawa. Well, they roll the sidewalks up at 9:00 and we don't do anything other than that, which is wrong because we do have a very strong music scene here. And that's why we do what we do, to let people know what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, like I've only lived here for 8 years, 7, 8 years. And I've only been performing for about, almost 2 years now. And I did notice that, I mean, I'm the kind of guy who goes to bed at 9, gets up at 4:30, 2 babies, that kind of thing. Right. So it's a really odd experience to be out after dark.
Yep.
So when I started performing last spring, I did notice that, hey, there's a life after 9, there's people in the streets, there's people walking around, there's music coming out of bars, so yeah, I definitely agree with that. It's very vibrant, actually.
Yeah, I have to listen to Dawg tell me about that because I'm the same as you. I have twin daughters that are about to turn 3, so my 9:00 is beautiful. I'm really down with that. See you later.
Yeah, we have to schedule outings for him.
That's right. Yeah,
I
have to prepare. I have to have like a 30-minute nap in the afternoon.
They have to be months apart too. Like we can't stress them out by doing 2 in like a month.
It's hilarious because I used to smoke it to the filter, and now I'm like, whatever.
Not even sparking it out.
9:00.
That's it.
It's kids do that. But it's also fun to, like you're saying, you being a musician and then your son taking to a musical instrument. I mean, it's kind of fun to watch. And even my daughters who, I love to, be outside and play golf and also do a lot of outdoor stuff, and they like to follow me through the woods and all that stuff. So it's fun to see. Yeah.
It's a fun age 3 too.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, they're very curious, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wouldn't know. I got nothing to speak of on that.
We don't have to.
Okay, good. I won't. Okay, I'm going to go with your Mount Rushmore of, like, we do bands or just individuals. Let's go, whatever. So Mount Rushmore, which means you're basically picking 4. Obviously, you knew that.
So 4 favorite bands?
Yeah, sure. Let's do that. You might have already mentioned all 4 of them, but
it's hard to pick. Like if I was actually forced at gunpoint to pick, like my 4 favorite bands, I'm trying to think. It's interesting because there are like same thing with albums. There's albums that have affected me more than others, but not necessarily albums that I would deem to be my favorite albums. It just had more of an influence. Bands, yeah, no, it has to be around that time period that I discovered. Like it was progressive rock. I think that was the huge catalyst, right? So I'd say Porcupine Tree / Steven Wilson as a songwriter. Opeth, definitely Opeth. Red House Painters was a big one too. I didn't mention them yet.
Nope.
No, Red House Painters. I remember listening to that a lot, when I got into the acoustic guitar. Nick Drake, maybe. It's hard to pick. It's really hard to pick because they all blended together at that point. Like they're all sort of equally as important. And that's influentially, but that's not necessarily like listening pleasure-wise. Bands, if I had to really pick favorite bands, it'd probably be Camel. They're an old English progressive rock band. Camel, Motorhead. Absolutely Motorhead. Death. And I'd say maybe Opeth. Yeah, if I had to pick the bands that I listen to most and that I enjoy, the music. Yeah, probably those 4.
Very good.
Motorhead. I love them.
It's timeless. It's timeless.
Yeah, that's so good.
Yeah, the reason we realize it's a really tough question to ask somebody because like you could ask us, what's your favorite song? And it's like you say, it's situational. Like at this point, right now it's this song, but 2 years ago it was this song, and 5 years ago. So it's just fun because we also like to, like you said, you threw a couple out of there I've never heard of, so I'm going to go take a look afterwards and give a listen. So that's another reason why.
Did you notice his answer was very clinical?
Really?
Very, very good. How do you deal with creative blocks or performance anxiety?
So, interestingly, I don't have creative blocks anymore. And I don't mean that in an arrogant way, right? Like it's happened over time where I've had like little lulls, but I find that I'm like really in it lately, like sort of like locked in, it's like the opposite. Like I find every time I pick up a guitar, like I'm always creating something. I know it's not something to complain about, right? But it has challenges that comes with it, right? It's just like the frustration or that I'll not have the time to actually let this see the light of day. So I need to really pick and choose what I'm going to devote my very limited free time to producing. So no, there's not so much blocks. I find I've accumulated so many ideas over time that there's just not enough time. I've got like documents filled with ideas for albums thematically, musically. So that's sort of what I'm wrestling with nowadays. I'm trying to rectify that piece.
Well, going on that, like, do you find that your mood changes if you don't get to have your outlet?
Yeah, so that's actually a really, really good question. And you mentioned clinical answers before, but as you know, we all have primary needs in life, shelter, food, that kind of thing, safety, water. I definitely see songwriting as a primary need. Like, for example, a few years ago, I took up oil painting. Like I taught myself how to oil paint. And I produced them like what a week, just to kind of teach myself. And I haven't painted in years now. It was a fun outlet. It was fun to be creative. It was relaxing, but I don't need to do it. Like I don't yearn for it when I'm not doing it. And with music, like, yeah, if I'm not devoting my morning a week that I set aside for studio production, then I'm not using that time effectively or something takes that away from me. It's almost kind of like stifling a sneeze. It's just there. It's under the surface. You need to do it, but you didn't get it out. I find it makes me a better person, like when you're able to satisfy all your primary needs, you're like a better version of yourself, a better parent, better clinician, better husband. So it's a fine balance, right? But yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's actually a really good point.
Yeah, I would think.
Yeah. He's just throwing me off with the answers. So I had a question and I lost it. So you go ahead and ask another one.
What do you mean you lost it?
I did. I had it up here. Maybe we can talk about me later, but right now.
Yeah, you can go on the couch after.
Oh my God. No, he doesn't have that much time.
Fair. Do you find where you live affects your career at all? Or do you just, because you have your home studio and your business is at home and, you pretty much, it's a fully functional space, right? So you have that outlet to go to and then you can shut the door and go. But do you find that where you're living is affecting your musical career?
Affecting in what way?
Well, say like you can't get out to do shows the way you want to, or do you think living in like that area is a nice area to live because you can go other places to go if you needed to just do a live show?
Yeah, no, I think it's okay. I mean, it's only about 25, 30 minutes outside of Ottawa, so it's still quite accessible. It's quiet, right? It's nice. I've always been really into, just being outdoors. So imagine the house is dropped in a forest. I mean, that's basically my property, right? I'm surrounded by woods. So it's nice to sit out on the porch in the summer, play guitar. You mentioned Verdun. I lived in NDG. So I had like a tiny little porch in the back, right? So I didn't find it so inspiring, like the city and the grayness and so I've always drawn inspiration from nature. It's nice to be out. It's not too far from Ottawa. I mean, the ironic thing is I lived in Montreal and there's a pretty big music scene there and I could have, delved into it back then. But for reasons I mentioned, there was just like not enough time, energy to do so. But it's still been great here locally. Like I really love playing in Wakefield. It quickly became like my favorite place to perform. I think I played there 5 times in the past year and a half or so.
Beautiful there.
And it's a great little village, it's full of artists. Everybody's really nice. Everybody's really connected. So, it's a great area, I find. Like, I don't really need to go into like huge city, big venue. Like, I would prefer to play for 4 people that are really, invested in what you're doing than a crowd full of folks, talking to each other, looking at their phones or something like that. Yeah. So
that's fair.
You get the intimacy at places like that, like in Wakefield,
right?
And like there's Bowie's in Smith Falls, which is a nice little venue. It holds about 80 people. But you're right, because it's like you're all right up there in front of the stage, and they're just like very engaged because you don't have a choice.
Black Sheep is great, and
yeah, I heard they reopened recently. Right?
Yeah, I heard that too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that place needed some love.
TLC,
but some great artists have come through there and played there. I think I remember my mom saying that Leonard Cohen played there at one point, like just out of nowhere. But she said she'd see him out all the time in Montreal. So you just like interesting that he would just be there, in the 70s and stuff, writing and smoking cigarettes and having
it
coffee.
just seems to be the vibe, right? Like it was, it's just like Lennon used to do that walk down the streets of New York City, right? So,
Yeah, but those are where you go, right? Like artists are left alone. It's very cool place.
Mhm.
Wakefield, I love it. So if somebody comes to see your live show, what can they expect?
So it's interesting because I answered this question this morning, when we were doing the documentary. Even though I write my music just like myself, sitting on a guitar, like I will flesh it out in the studio, multi-layered arrangements, full band arrangements, lots of production. So when I play live, I'm playing the songs exactly how I wrote them, sort of myself with the guitar, stripped back, solo, just guitar and vocals. So it really does, it's kind of this weird cascade where I'll write a song and then I'll produce it in a way that's like really, like multi-layered. And then it comes all the way back down to just me playing the song the way that I initially wrote it. So that's the way I like to play songs. Like they're very intimate. Most songs I play are quiet. I'll share a lot of stories in between the songs, like the lyrics. Like for example, my debut, Newcastle Park, the songs are very autobiographical, like about old friends, memories, places, that kind of thing. So I'll often just kind of rattle off a story here and there or chat with folks, about things. So yeah, it's a very intimate, sort of close-knit type of experience. It's great too. It's really nice to be able to finally sit in front of somebody and share something with them after all these years of just keeping it to myself.
you feel like that because that style that you have, that dictates what kind of venues you choose, or do you choose your venues?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, at first I wasn't too picky. I was trying to send it everywhere, see if I could actually play in certain places. But yeah, like as I've started known the landscape or figured out, different places, it will now affect it. Yeah, like I sort of see her. There's maybe some places that it didn't fit so well in
Mhm.
places I played in the past, and places that it did really fit well, like small cafes, microbreweries, like places where folks come to listen to the music on a certain night. I think that fits best.
Yeah, because live on Elgin, it perfectly fits that bill. It's a nice intimate place to play a show for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah. Tell us about the documentary experience. Like, so how how it came about and how you're feeling about what happened today. Like, did you find it exhausting or did you find it interesting, or how did you feel about it?
Yes, I'm a member of something called the 100 Mile Arts Network. It's like a network for musicians, English speaking musicians in Quebec, and I actually performed at one of their like festivals this past summer called Art in the Park. It was in
Mhm.
Wakefield, actually. It was in early August, and they had a series going called Art to Heart, where they would interview and feature local musicians in the Utah area, which is where I live. And they reached out to me last week and asked if I'd want to be featured in one of their episodes, like be the feature of the episode. It was great because it's funny. The person who came and did the videography was exactly the person that did the videography a couple weeks back at our parks. I'd met her already. And yeah, I mean, it was nice. It was casual. They took the time to kind of hear my stories, do some performances, film all the amounts of stuff I have in the studio. I got a closet filled with instruments, so I had to show them that. And yeah, no, it'll be great. I've seen the past episodes in their past series, and they're great. They're really nice episodes, nicely put together. So I think it'll be a really nice experience to see it all, once it's done.
Cool. Yes. Make sure you share that with us so we can post
I
it.
will.
Yes, absolutely, for sure. So it's been a big day. It was like, 'cause I was reading that post, I'm like, oh my, he's going to do a documentary in the morning and then talk to us. Oh my God, that's a lot in one day.
Busy guy, man.
Yeah,
He's
he's got a
high functioning.
I'm glad that he put us into this because he's got a lot going on.
He does. Yeah. We appreciate your time, of course.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I appreciate having me. I mean, it's great. It's an odd time. This is like between dinner and bed, so it's just like the
Yeah.
winding down time upstairs right now.
That's right. Yeah. Mine's happening too, but don't.
Mhm.
I'll be rushing out of here to go put them to bed.
Yeah.
What do you like to do in your free time? That seems to be, there's none of it, but what do you like to do outside of music?
Yes, I mean, outside of my work, my clinic and my music, I mean, I spend all of my time with my family. So I just like, hanging out with my wife, with my boys. Like you mentioned, showing them things, teaching them things. And we do a lot of reading. We do a lot of crafts. We have a fairly large property, lots of gardens, forests. So we'll do that, sort of go out for walks, go for hikes, work in the garden. Play with we have this like gigantic bouncy castle that we got for the summer with like a huge slide with a water slide and everything. So it's mostly that. I mean, I'd say like
That's
the
the
vast
best.
majority of my time is spent doing that. Yeah, mostly like, like baking, cooking for my kids and things like that.
That's cool. Yeah. So similar to you, I have a property in the country. And I grew up in Ottawa, originally Toronto, but then moved to Ottawa pretty soon after that. And having a country home where I grew up with a single mom and like a very tight, like, like with a lot of people around all the time. And now it's kind of nice that I can have this backyard. We did a bouncy castle too. We have the trampoline. I have an above ground pool. I have, it's just fun. Like the backyard is just like a haven for these kids. So it's great.
Right.
And you have so much fun with them. It's great. It almost, that's a good answer, because we really, all we do is I work as well, and then have this little podcast. I have a guitar that I tinker with, but then, having some time at home is the only thing that really, that's what we're saying. Going to bed at 9 o'clock is not a big deal. So what would you say, like, if you were to say, describe your style of music, like the way you would describe it, how would you describe your style of music?
Yeah, it's a really hard question to answer, like labeling yourself. And I've had such a varied trajectory, experience, music, that kind of thing. Some people will describe it as indie folk, but I don't think it fits so well, because it's, it's funny because I never really listened to so much indie folk music myself. I'd say I'm really tempered in like metal and progressive rock. Like if I think about structures, like a lot of my songs don't follow typical song structures, probably because like a lot of my musical DNA, incorporates a lot of these, all this old music, and, a lot of metal music were long songs. Case in point, the title song of Newcastle Park is almost 11 minutes long. So sometimes I'll put people off, right? They'll look at that and be like, wow, is this the shortest song is 6 minutes? And I think, so that's why it's sort of like, it's sort of like metal music wrapped in like a folky, rapping or something like that. So yeah, but I guess it would be, if I had to label it, singer-songwriter, folk, possibly Americana, indie, something like that. Yeah.
All the power words. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
That's funny though, that you have that metal background, so you have an 11-minute song. That it's great.
And I can't help myself. Like I don't do it on purpose. In fact, with that song, I had a verse chorus structure for years. And I told myself when I was producing the album, like I have a real shot here to make like a really tight song, verse, chorus, bridge, outro, that's it. And it ended up being the longest song on the album, right? Like it went wherever it wanted to go, and I let it go that way and not the other way around. So yeah.
That's hilarious.
Well, it rings true to progressive rock too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you got some albums out there that there's 2 songs on one side. Or one. Yeah. Like ELP did that on certain things. It's just like, okay, this is a 13-minute song. And it's just like, yeah. And I'm sure they're thinking the same thing. Well, should we cut it down, or just let the song come out?
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think the most important thing for a musician is to remember?
Be genuine, be authentic, and write for yourself. And I have some pretty strong beliefs about music and songwriting as an art form, but I really do think that you have to be true to yourself, as cheesy as that sounds. But like that's why I was telling you before, like letting the song go where it wants and not trying to write yourself into a box. Like we all have a certain style that's very individual and unique to us, so kind of just lean into it. And like I mentioned, just try to be authentic and try not to write for somebody else. And unless that's your goal, right? Unless that's your goal. If you want to produce something, to fit a certain thing, then that's fine. But for me personally, like artistically, like I very much sit until I'm artistically satisfied. You're mentioning about like needs before, and like what happens if I can't write. Well, that's my primary goal when I'm writing, is to really sort of satisfy this artistic need that I have to try to express myself in a particular way. If I like what I'm hearing, then to me, that is the most important thing.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's great. I think that even Rick Rubin talks about that. Like don't write it for anybody else, and then write it for yourself. He's sort of keep going back to your other career, but like he's sort of like a psychologist in the room, because he's not like super musically talented, but he does speak properly to musicians to get the best stuff out of them. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I've always heard that about Rick, and I always found that really interesting. And it does seem to make sense to me. Like I was thinking about this not too long ago, actually, because I was listening to some old Slayer records that he produced, about the benefit or the value of having a producer that is not musically literate, I guess we could say, right? Like does not a musician themselves. Like, do they hear things differently? Because the thing about me is I get so oversaturated in my own music that I lose complete objectivity. Like I'll listen to a song a year after I put it out, and I'll think to myself, like, I would not do it that way now. Or I wasn't able to hear this then. Like my ears were so tired. So it seems like it does make sense to have an outsider come in, somebody who doesn't really know so much about instrumentation, and just listen just use their ears and just think, like a non-musician. I could see the value in that.
Well, he's known for that too, right? Like he's taken like different. He doesn't even stick to one genre. He's been all over the map, right? And just like to take somebody, of course, I'm going to say it, like Johnny Cash, and just to get that kind of work out of him when Cash was like he was very reticent about doing it with him, and he had to keep, going after him. Like, oh, listen to this, do this. Here's what do you want to do, Johnny? And he's like, well, I want to sit on a stool with my guitar. Okay, let's do that. Like he didn't try to overproduce anything. He didn't try to push him into. Well, he did. He kind of pushed him into the one song that was huge.
Yeah, hurt.
Yeah, it took him a few times to get him to record it because he didn't understand it. He didn't. I don't relate to this tune.
Yeah, it's true. But I think that Brian makes a great point. It's like having that person in the room.
Yes.
Is so valuable because of the fact that they're not going to tell you, hey, you got to play a different chord here. You got to try something different. You got to do this. Just what are you feeling like? It's even with that song that System of a Down does. And it's like they were having a lot of trouble trying to get a certain point of the song. And he just sort of said, oh, well, why don't you just take a break? And there's a whole bunch of books. Like, why don't you just look around? And he grabs the book, first thing he sees, and that's the line in the song. And it's like one of the best parts of the song, right? Is that they kind of have that break where it's very musical and interesting.
Is that on Chop Suey? I've heard that story before.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. Sorry, I just heard that story recently, and I was like, oh, that's a really interesting way of like, he's very, like you said, he's very good at just sort of using his ears and letting the artist figure it out and just be there for them, and sort of walk them through it. It's very, and he's done very well doing it. He's done
right.
Yeah. He's got a couple clams in the bank, but I don't think it's ever been about that for him anyway.
No,
it doesn't really matter.
So.
He's kind of like that unique guy with no shoes on that just sort of hangs.
Hey, man, shoes are encompassing, man. They just take up too much. They got to bend over, tie them up. It's just too much work.
Yeah.
His American 5 by Johnny Cash, like that was a very like seminal album for me.
Right.
As I was starting to write music, I remember that one, like it was one of my favorite ones. Like I took that one and like it was very influential, that one.
Yeah. And he just like some of the covers that he did were just like, and it's like, you listen to him now and it's like, wow, like and it was stripped down, bare bones, Johnny Cash guitar. And
he was at the end of his
life.
Well,
that's why it resonated so much, right? Because it was just, and I understand the videographer, the guy who wanted to do the video was like at the door every day, I want to do this video. I want to do this video. Let me do the video. Please let me do the video. And they finally said, quit bothering us and you can do the video.
Yeah. And he probably was bawling his eyes out when he did it too, because it was a very heavy experience, I'm sure. If you so when you perform and the audience sings along, how does that energy make you feel?
So they don't sing along. That's the thing. I don't think I've had that experience yet with somebody singing along. I don't think people know my songs that well. I don't know if they're sing along songs. I mean, I guess they could be. Trying to think about certain songs that could fit that bill. But no, I have not had that experience yet.
Well, if you were like, Dawg asked this question quite a bit too, but like, so if you were to have someone sing it back to you or somebody cover it, what would be more appealing to you?
I don't know. They would both be, I think, really flattering at this point, given where I am, that somebody took the time to, I mean, if you think about the implication of memorizing a certain passage, it means that person was to listen to your song countless times. And at least that's how I've learned, the lyrics to all the songs off an album, it's just repetition over and over again. So I find it really flattering. Like just not so much the singing live or the cover, but the fact that the person, felt that way about your piece of art to reproduce it in their own way.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like an interesting question that you.
Yeah, I know. So you go into concerts and stuff. Are you an analytical person? Like, are you listening to the song or are you taking the song apart as you listen in the audience?
Yeah, no, I think I go for the experience, like I mean, if I go see a band live, then I know their music, like I've heard probably everything that they've done. So I might do that here, like when I'm listening to an album, I'll spin it, upstairs in my record player multiple times. You hear something new every time. Mm-hmm. So I think I've done that before. And then when I go live, like it's just the immersion. When I was younger, I used to do the thing where, you skip school and you go downtown and you line up at 9 a.m. and you go front row center and you get destroyed at the front on the bar. You got like bruising on your ribs the next day. I remember that like some of the Motorhead concerts are really wild, Anthrax and bands like that. Oh, yeah. But yeah, it's mostly the experience, going live or I've gone to many shows by myself just to sit or stand and just watch them perform. Sometimes, you'll want to look at a certain musicians and see how they play a certain part or like how they do certain things, or drummer, he's playing a certain fill or something like that. So it's really just about the experience, I think, going live.
Yeah. It's interesting. Everybody's different.
Yes.
We asked this question to everybody. It's pretty one-sided, but I think he's going to go your way, actually, Doc. We talk about 2 decades of music, the 80s and the 90s. If there was one that you preferred, which would it be and why?
It's really hard to say because, you'd expect somebody, around my age to probably pick 90s, right? But I skipped the grunge generation, like I was born in 88. I think the grunge really came around like the turn of the decade, right? Like the early 90s. I mean, I'm really into bands like Alice in Chains and stuff, but I don't even know if that could be defined as grunge to me.
It
was
is.
more like grunge, like it's a little bit more metal than like something
Agreed.
like Nirvana,
Totally. Well, way raw, way more raw.
Right.
Like,
Right.
I think Nirvana was more songwriting, and then Alice in Chains that just they staley, and then you just kind of played around them, like
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd probably pick 80s, honestly. I mean, because that's when all those great albums that I really like came out, like I was like metal for me was such a big, like a game changer, like a paradigm shift in my musical, like we said, DNA, right? So probably 80s, because I mean, how many great records came out during that time period, right? If I had to pick 80s and 90s.
metal records.
Like metal records, lots of other records too.
Easy there, pal.
I'm not. See, that's the thing. I'm 90s and he's 80s. Not that I don't like the 80s because I love 80s metal, and Dog loves just the 80s music. I mean, and obviously, like I was talking about Michael Jackson earlier, Thriller was my first album. So I mean, you gotta remember that as a kid, right? So like, I don't know.
Like the other day, I had a Tears for Fears record going. It was
Nice.
Sowing the Seeds of Love.
Yeah. Songs from the Big Chair.
Right. Yeah. It was Sowing the Seeds of Love I have, but yeah, I have that one too. But even bands like that, it's phenomenal.
Yep. I agreed.
That was good stuff.
Yeah.
Tom Petty too. 80s Tom Petty,
Well, we always go back to my favorite band from England in the 80s was The Fix.
Right. I've heard the name, like it does ring a bell. I don't think I remember any of their music, but yeah, I know the name.
Yeah, the one song that everybody knows is One Thing Leads to Another. That's pretty much their biggest song.
So working on an album, you got a couple live shows coming. What else is going on before we let you go?
Yeah, mostly those two things. I mean, the albums are pretty intense experiences because I do everything by myself here in the studio. So it's probably years, honestly. Like this album right now, it's blueprinted, musically, thematically, it's all there. I've actually been sort of working on it in concept for a couple of years now alongside my other projects. But I think I'm at like 25 songs on my list. So it's definitely going to be a double LP. I'll have to trim it, and that's going to take a long time. I mean, Newcastle Park took me 9 months to record, and all the songs had already been fleshed out demo-wise. Like this is like restarting from the ground up. So I can only imagine how long 20 songs is going to take. But this one is more stripped back. Like we're talking about American 5, and it's a really good parallel to draw. Because my goal for this one was to step away from like the more grand band arrangements and just to focus on guitar, vocals, a couple of accompanying instruments. Like last week I was working on a song that actually came out really well. Like it was dulcimer and banjo along with some acoustic guitar, and that's pretty much it. No big drums or electric guitar, things like that. So that's really what I'm working on. That'll capture all of my attention, I'd say, until it's done, which is probably going to maybe a year or two.
Fair enough.
I can imagine how tough it is. Like you're hammering out these songs and you're like, okay, somebody's got to go.
25 songs too.
But are you working on this conceptually? So like these songs have to flow into one another and they have to.
No, not like that. Not like
okay.
I know what you mean. Yeah, like not the songs don't know. It's just it's thematically, like the concept. Like with Newcastle Park, it was very nostalgic, autobiographical, coming of age, uncertainty about the future, that kind of thing. This one is more like stripped back musically and thematically in terms of I wanted, like I'm writing about different phenomena that are just very relatable, aspects of the human condition, grief, love, pining, longing, betrayal, trust, everything. Things that really bind us together as a species, I mean, it goes without saying, but in a world where there's so much division, like I really wanted to write something that kind of puts us together. Like we all have these shared experiences, and that's very much what the concept of this album that I'm working on is, relatable human experiences, basically.
Yeah.
You need to get that out real quick because there's a lot of.
It's pretty divisive.
Yeah,
right.
A lot of it.
Do you think that music is the best therapy when we're divided? Because music over all these years in the 60s, the 70s, Vietnam War, music was such a big part of it. Do you think that all of it can be fixed by music?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't say it could be fixed by music, but I think it could take, let's take a moment and just kind of focus and just listen and share an experience. Even like you're asking a question about playing live. it's also really nice to watch people around you being absorbed by the music, some people in tears, and that's always been a really great experience. And you could just look at somebody and you kind of share that moment with one another. You don't have to say anything, but you get it, like you're part of the same experience at that point in time.
That's a good point.
Very. Yeah. Well, it's just that there's like with the radio station that we have, it's just we're very we're promoting a lot of positivity. We don't want to have any of these.
It's called Be Kind Radio.
Yeah, so I mean that's right in the label, right?
Yeah,
but it's just
you're gonna play some of Brian's music on there now.
I am actually, yeah. On Tuesday.
There you go. Yeah.
And
Tomorrow.
Yes, tomorrow.
All right.
Sorry, that's bad.
Well, Brian, thank you so much for your time. We know that it's precious, so we appreciate some of your insight, and obviously, great speaking with you, of course.
Yeah, no, to you as well. Look, I really appreciate it. It was really nice. It's really nice to talk about music,
It is. That's why we did this during. But where can people see the documentary?
So it's 100 Mile Arts Network. It'll come out via them, like that organization. I don't know when it's going to come out.
But people can go follow them. They can go.
Yeah.
Follow,
so if they want to see the past series that they did, which is great, it's really nice, good showcase of local musicians. It's 100 Mile Arts Network. You could find their YouTube page, and it's on there. It's called Art to Heart.
Okay, cool.
Heart to Heart.
Very nice. Excellent. Well, thanks again, Brian.
You're welcome. And look, thank you again, and have a nice evening. Good luck putting the kids down to sleep. I'm going to go do that right now.
They're good. They'll go to bed right away. It's a science now.
Yeah.
Dawg and Gus, Dawg and Gus, Dawg and Gus.